vậy.
Ê mày, nhỏ cái kìa, suốt ngày im lặng chắc nhút nhát lắm.
Giống mấy người hướng nội nhỉ? Mình chỉ là không có nhiều câu chuyện thôi, mình phải quy trình trước 50 người.
Have you ever thought that introverts are shy?
Ê mày, thằng con kia kìa, nó học giỏi thế chắc nó chỉ biết học thôi nè.
Đúng rồi. Sao mà được thế không?
That stereotypes, the preconceived notions we believe that before we truly understand a person.
Hello, teacher and everyone. Welcome to our presentation. We are Group 5. Today, we will talk about stereotype, a common phrase that we can see every day in real life. Our group have 5 members. My full name is Cao Thị Linh, and next 4 members are Đặng Thị Na, Diệp Hà My, Bùi Khánh Linh, and Đinh Thị Liên. This is our presentation's table of contents. Our presentation is divided into 4 main parts. In the first part, we will briefly touch upon the term stereotype in everyday life, and then talk the detailed definition of what stereotype is. The most important part in this presentation is main content. We will explore 3 incredibly viral stereotypes, both in the past and present, about Vietnamese culture and other cultures. In stereotype 1, we will discuss within the Vietnamese community itself. The other 2 stereotypes will discuss how by Vietnamese people toward another culture, specifically the United States and vice versa. Finally, there will be the exclusion to the end of this presentation. Have you ever judged someone based only on their appearances, accent, or background, even before truly getting to know them? If so, you may have been unconsciously influenced by stereotypes. Stereotypes are generalized and oversimplified ideas about a group of people. They seem harmless. However, behind every label are real individuals with unique personalities, abilities, and stories. Some stereotypes may seem positive. They still create pressure and unrealistic expectations. In contrast, negative stereotypes can lead to discrimination, misunderstanding, and social division. Okay, let's continue with the definition. What is the stereotype? According to DZAC in EBSCO research status in 2024, a stereotype is an overgeneralized belief or assumption about a particular group of people, often based on characteristics such as race, gender, nationality, or occupation. Stereotypes simplify complex human differences and are frequently inaccurate as they ignore individual variation within a group. Although stereotypes may help people process information quickly, they often can lead to misunderstanding, bias, and even discrimination.
Hi everyone, today I will present about the stereotype. Marriage of women from the central Vietnam lead to a half-life. At the first glance, this statement may sound negative. However, when examined more closely, this stereotype reflects deep culture, geography, and historical influence. Today, I will explain what the stereotype of correct men and why this exists. Now, let's start. What does the stereotype mean? As you can see in screen, the stereotype that marrying a woman from the central Vietnamese to the half-life refer to the perception that marrying a central Vietnamese woman result in family life characterized by strict discipline, regularity, and financial pressure. The words hard in context do not mean being abused, mistreated, or trapped in unhappy marriage. Instead, it refers to a disciplined and highly regulated lifestyle, especially in family and financial matters. First, this stereotype most clearly reflects the way family life is organized. Families are often organized according to clear rules concerning daily routines, spending habits, and responsibility. Decisions tend to make cautionally with a long stability prioritize over short-term pressure. For individuals who are used to flexible lifestyle, this level of discipline may be feel restricted or emotionally demanding. Beyond the strict family structure, the stereotype is also associated with persistent financial pressure. Family place a strong emphasis on saving, prepare for risk, the illness, unemployment, or natural disaster. Even, even when the household is not directly poor, their husbands may still feel constant financial pressure and experience limited freedoms in personal spending. As a result, consequence of the time financial control, a fuller lifestyle with a limited indulgence tend to emerge. Spending on travel, luxury dining, or personal enjoyment often restrained. Instead, priority given to long-term needs such as children education, housing, and family security. For people who are associate happiness with leisure consumption, that such a lifestyle may appear emotionally restricted, reinforcing the perception of a hard line. So, what's the stereotype persistent for generation? To answer this question, we need to look at the hard living condition and historical constant that states the mindset of people in a century benign. As you can see in spring, the harsh nature condition. Central Vietnam is characterized by barren land and extreme climate with the frequent storm and frost. The condition has forced the local people to adopt a forward lifestyle in order to prepare for risk and uncertainty. And next, history and cultural. Conversion, value, and traditional family norms emphasize the discipline, order, and women's responsibility in managing household affairs. And Central Vietnamese men often spend long periods at the sea or serving in the military. As a result, women become the economic management manager and protector of families' stability. Does this stereotype hurt you in every case? The fin art, let's move on to the next part presented by me.
Hello, teacher and everyone. My name is Diệp Hà My. Now I will talk about marrying a woman from the Central Vietnam means a hard lie. Why is it not always true? This perception still exists in the mind of many people and originates from the image of Central Vietnam as a region that frequently suffers from natural disaster and difficult living conditions. However, in modern society, this viewpoint is no longer entirely accurate for the following reasons. The first women from Central Vietnam today are not only hardworking but also well educated and modernized. It is true that women from Central Vietnam are well known for their diligence and strong sense of responsibility toward their family. However, this quality do not necessarily lead to a hard or miserable life. In reality, many women from Central Vietnam today have high level of education and work in various fields such as education, business, tourism, logistics, and survive. And number two, marriage life depend on mutual understanding and economic condition, not regional background. A marriage can be happy and difficult, not because of a person's regional origins, but because of personality, lifestyle, mutual support, and the financial condition of both partner. Relevant women from Central Vietnam as bringing hardship is a form of social prejudice and is unfair. For example, Phạm Thị Hương, of 43 years old, who come from Cửa Lò, Nghệ An, has developed a clear hydroponics pennyworth farming model and successfully built a high-tech agricultural chain. Her business has created stable employment opportunity for many local people.
Today, I would like to discuss a common stereotype in Vietnam, the idea that the US is the land of dreams. This stereotype suggests that America is a place where people can transform their life through opportunity, freedom, and hard work. Easy presentation. First, what does this stereotype actually mean? This stereotype means that many Vietnamese people believe the US offer unlimited opportunity for personal success. In this view, success is not determined by family background or social class, but by individuals' efforts and determination. This belief is closely connected to the concept of the American dream, which emphasizes upward social mobility, equal opportunity, and personal freedom. For many Vietnamese, the US is imagined as a place where education is high quality, jobs are plentiful, and talents are recognized. As a result, America became a symbol of hope, especially for those who wish to improve their social and economic status. However, this stereotype did not emerge by chance. It had deep historical, social, and cultural roots. Historically, this stereotype began after the Vietnamese Wars, as a large number of Vietnamese refugees migrated to the UN. For these refugees, America represented freedom, safety, and a chance to rebuild their lives. Over time, many Vietnamese Americans achieved success in education, business, and personal career. Several achievements became powerful stories that traveled back to Vietnam, shaping how people perceive life in the US. As a result, America came to be seen not just as a country, but as a symbol of freedoms and opportunities. In addition to history, statistical data also strengthens this stereotype. According to Pew Research Center, about 75% of Vietnamese Americans believe that life in the US is better than in Vietnam. And around half had attained a college degree of either. The further reinforces the perception of America as a place of upward mobility. Furthermore, medical coverage often highlights successful Vietnamese Americans, while challenges such as discrimination or inequality receive less attention. This selective representation contributes to an idealized image of the US as a land of dreams. In conclusion, the stereotype as the US as a land of dreams among Vietnamese people is shaped by the meanings of the American dream, historical migration experience, statistical evidence, and media narrative. Although the image does not fully replace the reality and challenges of life in America, it continues to strongly influence how Vietnamese people imagine success and opportunity abroad.
Today, I want to discuss the Vietnamese people's stereotype the US as a land of dream, raised in our way true. Fully, the American dream is an ideal, not a reality for everyone. The American dream, defined by James Charles Adam as the opportunity to success through individual efforts. However, later theory shows that it is a highly idealized course, not a universal experience. Many Vietnamese people imagine the US through media and success story while overlooking structural barriers. Secondly, opportunity for upward mobility in the US are general. Social mobility in the US is larger than in many developed countries. The stress strongly depends on family background, the lack of resident access to quality education. According to SO argues that individual effort is not enough without resources. Thirdly, immigrants do not start from the same position. Immigrants differ in economic capital, education background, English proficiency, legal status. These difference created inequality from the very beginning. In addition, counter-argument and rebuttal. America isn't always a land of dream. Only 50 of children earn more than their parents. However, education costs are high. Average student debt is over $30,000. Some Vietnamese Americans still face psychological pressure and feeling of not being good enough. Moreover, Vietnamese American experience a fragmented American dream. Not as all Vietnamese Americans attracted by model minority image. The theory of segmented assimilation from more upwards and other experience stagnation or downward mobility. Outcome depends on family, school, and community context. More important, education offer opportunity but also heavy pressure. Education in the US does not guarantee happiness. Even high achieving Vietnamese American experience report psychological stress and constant feeling of never being good enough. More important issue racial discrimination weakens the American dream. Asian Americans are often viewed as outsiders expressed to avoid the stress. This reduces their sense of belonging, a core promise of the American dream. Finally, the American dream is no longer tied only to the US. Many Vietnamese Americans return to Vietnam or seek better life opportunity everywhere. The American dream increasingly understood by opportunity and meaningful life, not limited to US territory. This inclusion, the United States is not always a land of dream. The American dream is unequal, constrained by social constructs associated with significant emotional costs. Therefore, it should be understood as a conditioned idea, not a guaranteed promise. This slide compares how the American dream is understood across society. In Vietnam, it is often idealized as life-changing, largely influenced by media narrative. In contrast, European perspectives are more skeptical, focusing on inequality and structural limits. For Latin American and South Asian migrants, the American dream is a conditional opportunity set by legal status, education, and access to resources. Among Vietnamese Americans, the American dream appears fragmented and unique. Finally, from the perspective of global scholars, the American dream is understood as a ideal rather than a guarantee, an idea that is still holds but does not cancel structures. The stereotype that America is a land of dream is not a universal view, but rather a localized and idealized perspective. In many countries, the American dream is understood in a more cautious, conditional, and realistic way.
Hello everyone, my name is Diệp. Now I will talk about American stereotype about Vietnam. Vietnam is seen as a poor, underdeveloped country with an economy mainly based on agriculture. The meaning is of this stereotype. The first, the stereotype view Vietnam as a society at a low level of economic development. This stereotype defines Vietnam as a so-called third world country where people live as closely associated with farmlands, small-scale traditional agricultural production, and low income. From this perspective, Vietnam is seen as a country that has not yet undergone industrialization and modernization, lacking infrastructure, technology, and high-value economic section. In other words, this stereotype associates Vietnam with image of poverty, backwardness, and slow development, rather than recognizing it as an economy that is transforming and integrating into the global system. And number two, the stereotype equal Vietnam with agriculture and economic diversity. This stereotype also defines Vietnam economy as a poorly agricultural one, in which agriculture is considered the almost exclusive leading section. Other sectors, such as manufacturing, survive technology, tourism, international trade, are overlooked or underestimated. Instead of meaning this stereotype oversimplify the image of Vietnam and leads many Americans to misunderstand that Vietnam development revolves solely around agriculture, while in reality its economy has become far more diverse. For example, according to Social Economic Report for the third quarter and the first 9 months of 2025 by the General Statistics Office of Vietnam, the contribution of different sectors to the GDP so that the Vietnam economy does not really mean of agriculture. The agriculture, forestry, and fish section contribute on about 5% to economic growth with a much lower growth rate than other sections. Meanwhile, industry and construction contribute over 46% and service contribute nearly 49% to economic growth.
I want to talk about the American stereotype about Vietnam. Vietnam is seen as poor, underdeveloped country with a mainly agricultural economy, while the stereotype exists. The image of Vietnam as poor, underdeveloped, and primarily agricultural was formed mainly during the Vietnam War, 1955-1975. Americans were mostly exposed to battlefield, dry field, and rural life, creating a one-dimensional impression. American media, Time, Newsweek emphasize poverty in rural areas, ignoring city and industrial activity. These stereotypes were reinforced by the modernization theory and development study, with a set numbers in country primarily based on agriculture and poverty level. Americans have limited direct experience with Vietnam, so simplified images become temporary cognitive tools. American documentaries such as Hudson Line and Vietnam War also portray Vietnam as agricultural, poor, and rather reinforcing the one-dimensional perception in the American public. Combining history, media, psychology, and film, the stereotype has persisted even though Vietnam has seen industrialized, urbanized, and integrated.
Okay, let's continue with stereotype 3. The stereotype held by some Americans that Vietnam is a poor and underdeveloped country with an economy primarily based on agriculture is not always accurate. But why is this belief not always true? As in reality, Vietnam has undergone significant changes in its economy, society, and international standing. The first reason, Vietnam's economic structure is no longer primarily based on agriculture. Although agriculture once played a key role in the past, Vietnam has now shifted toward a diversified economic model in which industry and services played a dominant role. Vietnam has become a major manufacturing and export hub for industrial products such as electronics, textiles, footwear, and technological components for large markets, including the United States, the European Union, and Japan. This demonstrates that Vietnam's economy is no longer mainly dependent on agriculture, as stereotypes often suggest. Data from official statistical agencies indicate that in the first quarter of 2025, agriculture accounted for only about 11.56% of GDP, while industry and construction made up approximately 36.31%, and services accounted for 43.44%. This clearly demonstrates that industry and services have become the primary driving forces of Vietnam's economic growth. The next reason, second, Vietnam is no longer a poor country in the traditional sense. Vietnam has moved out of the low-income group and become a low-middle-income country with a high rate of economic growth sustained over many years. Infrastructure, urbanization, education, and living standards have improved significantly, particularly in major cities. A country considered poor and underdeveloped typically experiences low growth rates and fails to attract investment. However, that is not the case for Vietnam. In 2025, real GDP growth is projected to reach nearly 8%, and many international organizations continue to regard Vietnam as one of the few economies maintaining strong growth despite global instability. Third reason, Vietnam is deeply integrated into the global economy. Vietnam is a member of numerous international trade agreements and has become an attractive destination for foreign investment. The presence of multinational corporations in Vietnam directly changes the view that it is a backward or underdeveloped economy. According to World Bank, Vietnam had transformed from one of the poorest countries in the world in 1986 into a middle-income economy in both scale and quality. GDP per capita increased from below 700 USD in 1986 to nearly 4,500 USD in 2023, while the poverty rate declined sharply. Let's come the final reason. Finally, this stereotype largely stems from historical image and outdated information, particularly perceptions associated with the wartime period of or the difficult post-war years. However, modern Vietnam has undergone rapid and comprehensive development, making this stereotype no longer an accurate reflection of present-day reality. The final result is viewing Vietnam as a poor, underdeveloped country that is primarily dependent on agriculture is an incomplete and outdated stereotypes. It overlooks Vietnam's significant socio-economic transformations in the context of globalization.
Now let's move on to the conclusion. Why challenging stereotype? Stereotypes often distort reality and give misleading impression about people in country. For example, people say marrying a woman from Central Vietnam being a harmless. Vietnamese see culture as a land of dream. American view Vietnam as poor, underdeveloped, and mainly agricultural. Challenging this stereotype helps us understand people and society more accurately. It also promotes critical thinking, empathy, and fairness in daily life media. The next what our group has learned, we learned that stereotypes like Americans think of Vietnam as poor and agricultural, and Vietnam seeing the US as a land of dreams. Shaped by history, media, and limited experience, the portrait involved critical thinking help us analyze sources, challenging oversimplified view and distinguish fact from opinion. Visual media and culture strongly influence public perception, and in the spread newspaper and documentary like personalized work producer enhance our research and teamwork skills. More importantly, we learn the value of changing stereotype and thinking. Okay, thank you for listening.